Scrum events are the backbone of the Scrum framework, which is designed to bring structure, clarity, and alignment to the project execution. These time-boxed events promote the transparency, inspection, and adaptation. If you recall, we said that they are the main three pillars of Scrum, ensuring that the team remains focused on delivering a value. The core for the five core events where we have mentioned, including the sprint and sprint planning, daily scrum and sprint review and sprint retrospective, which provides a rhythm to, let's say, to scrum processes. To start with the sprint, which is the heart of Scrum. The sprint is the heart of Scrum, and it's a time-boxed iteration allows the teams to focus on delivering a specific increment of the value, or let's say part of the product. And at the beginning of the sprint, the team defines its goals and deliverables. By end of the sprint, they aim to produce a potentially shippable product or increment, we call it as one of these artifacts, showcasing a tangible progress to the stakeholders. So again, the sprint is a time box iteration which is usually from 1 to 4 weeks where the work is delivered. And during the sprint, which is the first event, it's the goals are set and deliverables are defined upfront. And it ends with increment as one of these Scrum artifacts or potentially shippable product. The next event is the sprint planning, and sprint planning is the event that kickstarts the sprint. And during this session, the team collaborates to select high priority items from the product backlog and define the sprint goal. These selected items from the sprint backlog, which acts as the roadmap for the sprint effective planning, to ensure that the team understand what to achieve and how to do it. So again, sprint planning is made to understand what to achieve and how to achieve it. By understanding what are the let's say understanding the top priority product backlog items, collaborating with the product owner to understand, and based on that, they set the sprint goal. Then they pick out these features or these items from the sprint backlog, which act as a roadmap for the sprint effective planning. So, sprint planning, to summarize it, we say that it sets the tone for the sprint, where the team select the items from the product backlog to work on, and they define the sprint goal and creates the sprint backlog. If you recall that one of these deliverables or one of these outputs of the sprint planning is the sprint backlog. And if you recall what were the sprint backlog items were the items, or let's say the features the team has agreed with the product owner to start implementing as a key, let's say, increment. So we think as it's a list of features or a list of activities that it has to be completed during the sprint. So it's part of the sprint planning. It's the output of the sprint planning, which is called the sprint backlog. The next event here we have is the daily scrum, and daily scrum is, or stand up, is a quick 15-minute meeting held each day at the sprint, let's say during the sprint. And the team members shares their progress, updates, and highlights any blockers that they're facing, and also align their effort towards the sprint goal. This event fosters the accountability and encourages the collaboration and ensures the team stays on track. So again, it's just a 15-minute meeting for the team alignment. It focuses on discussing the progress updates and impediment identification. It promotes the accountability and collaboration. Next event we have is the sprint review. The sprint review is an opportunity for the team to present their completed work to stakeholders and receive a valuable feedback. And this event focuses on reviewing the increment, also discussing the potential changes that the stakeholder might have, Also to ensure the product max or the to ensure the product maximizes the value for the customers. It's like demonstrating the completed work to the stakeholders, like during the 2 weeks, during the 4 weeks, what we have completed. Now it's the time to present to the stakeholders. It's made to obtain a feedback on the increment, and it focuses on maximizing the product value. The sprint retrospective, which is the final, let's say, event or stage of each of the Scrum. So think of each of these, the 4 weeks sprint. Each of these sprints will have the sprint planning, the sprint, let's say, daily stand up or daily Scrum. Will also have the sprint itself. So the sprint itself will have the sprint planning, the daily Scrum, also the sprint review, and finally it will end with sprint retrospective. So each of these sprints will have each of these activities. And the sprint retrospective is a final event in a sprint focusing on the process improvement. The team reflects what went well, what didn't go well, and what can be improved in the future sprints. This continuous improvement mindset strengthens the collaboration and boosts the efficiency within you. It's like a reflection on the sprint success and challenges that they have faced. It also acts as an opportunity to identify all of these areas for improvements. It enhances the team processes for the future sprints. We looked already about on these Scrum artifacts. We say that the product backlog, which guides the sprint planning, and the sprint backlog, which drives the sprint, the increment, which showcase the progress in the sprint review. So these Scrum events are closely tied to its artifacts. So if you recall when we say that Scrum the planning where it will produce the sprint backlog. So again, Scrum events which we discuss are closely tied to these artifacts. And the product backlog guides the sprint planning. So you can think it's one of these inputs to the sprint planning. So the product backlog is one of these inputs that the team should sit and understand in order to pick some of these items based on its prioritization. And also, it will be a guide for the sprint planning. So, without having a product backlog, you cannot have a sprint planning because you don't know what you are gonna develop, or you don't know what you are gonna deliver to the stakeholders. So, where these items are selected for the sprint backlog, and the increment is an outcome, or it's the output of the sprint. It's presented during the sprint review. So you can think of these increments. Each of the 4 weeks, each of the 2 weeks, you will produce an increment. And each of these increments, it's the output of the sprint. And it should be as an input to your sprint review, where you will show the increment to the stakeholders and you will obtain their feedback. This alignment ensures the transparency and focuses on delivering a value. What are the supporting activities in Scrum? So, while Scrum defines a specific events, additional supporting activities like backlog refinement, and stakeholder engagement play a crucial role. These activities ensures that the team has clarity on the upcoming work and fosters collaboration, let's say, across the functional tasks. So again, the refinement session is one of these activities where you sit with the let's say with the product owner and you groom the product backlog. Groom backlog means that you reprioritize things, you remove things, you clarify things. So it's called the product backlog grooming sessions. It's we call it the refinement session. And the next activity here is the stakeholder engagement outside the events in order to understand in more in-depth stakeholder needs, the stakeholder, let's say a problem that they're trying to solve using the product or using the features that you're trying to implement. And also collaboration across the functional tasks. When we talked about what were the benefits of the Scrum events drives the transparency and team alignment and continuous improvement. By engaging and focusing on value delivery, these events ensures that the team stays productive and the project meets its objectives. Remember also the regular reflection through events like the retrospectives also fosters a culture of continuous learning and adaptation. To summarize our session on discussion on the Scrum events, we understood what exactly the goals of each of these events. So Scrum events provide a structured frameworks that drives the project success through collaboration and transparency. Each of these events, from sprint planning to sprint retrospective, plays a specific role in delivering a value and fostering a continuous improvement. By embarrassing the feedback and adapting, Scrum teams can achieve excellence in the execution and outcomes.